Hey everybody, Pastor Mark here. I hope you're doing well today. I want to give you a quick reminder that we are resuming public worship this Sunday, July 5th. And I also want to take a moment to reflect on a moment in church history that I think may help us think about the age in which we are in right now. So, quick reminder, we are resuming in-person worship this Sunday at Grace. That'll be at 10:30. The live stream will continue, so if you're not ready to make your way back yet, then you can continue to worship through the live stream at home. Um, the elders, as I mentioned in a video back in May, we're seeking the Lord for wisdom, and we're receiving input from our safety team, which was made up of medical professionals as well as ministry team leaders who were looking at the best available medical understanding and public health perspectives that we had on this virus, as well as just thinking through logistically what we could pull off as a church. They came with a series of recommendations, and the elders looked over those. We were praying, seeking the Lord for wisdom, and were motivated by a desire to obey God. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. The greatest commandment. These two things really sum up, in a way, what we're about right now. It's we love God, and so we want to gather together corporately and worship Him. We're also in the midst of a pandemic, and so we want to love our neighbors well and make sure that when we gather, we do so safely. And so we've sought the Lord for wisdom. We are believing and trusting that we are going to come together in a way that will be as safe as it can be for those who are gathered. And we are confident that the Lord will be worshiped. It will be different. It will not be like it was. It will be bittersweet. But we'll be together, and that will be good. We will be observing the Lord's Supper, which will be good. For those of you that aren't ready to come back, I understand. I don't want you to feel any sense of, being less than, of being seen as not with the team or anything like that. This is a hard time. We are all working through as best as we can um, what the Lord's will is in terms of the timing of our return to being together in worship. So I do hope that you will be seeking the Lord for that wisdom. That I hope that you will continue to be worshiping from home. It's not the same. We're not together, but there is the sense in which we are together in spirit. And so please don't set that aside. Continue to worship through the live stream until you're ready to come back into the building on Sunday morning. Please call me if you have questions, if you'd like to talk about any of the guidelines, which, by the way, I will have a link to them in the description for this video, so be sure to take a look. Contact me. Let me know if you have questions. Let's talk. Let's just catch up. I miss you. If you wanna talk, do a Zoom, whatever the case may be. I'd love to answer any questions you may have about the worship service, but also would just love a chance to catch up. And if you're not yet ready to come back, I really want to encourage you to join a growth group if you're not yet in a growth group. We need this. We need to be together in some way. We need community. God created the church to be connected to one another, and we are most fully the church when we're gathered for worship. And so until you are ready to be back on Sunday morning, please be in fellowship with a small group, with one of our growth groups. And you'll find information about that at our church website as well. Okay, lesson from church history. Maybe pre-church history is a better way to put it, because I'm thinking about the exile. I'm thinking about the time that God's people were sent into exile. Jerusalem is besieged and ultimately falls. The people of God are sent out of Israel and Judah, and the temple's gone, right? I mean, there's no more temple worship because they're not in their homeland anymore. And so it was ultimately from that synagogues began to form. So pockets of God's people gathered in various places throughout the diaspora, throughout the regions in which the people of God were dispersed. And they worshiped God. It was different. It wasn't like it was. And there was a deep sense, I'm sure, of loss. In fact, you can't read the Psalms without missing the fact that they were lamenting not being in the house of the Lord anymore, not being back in Jerusalem. But they worshiped God. They worshiped God where they were. It wasn't the same, but they were worshiping God. What they didn't know, and what really no one knew until the time of Jesus, was that those synagogues would prove to be stepping stones for the spread of the gospel throughout the ancient world. Where did Jesus go in his ministry? He went to synagogues. You can't, we're studying the Gospel of Mark on Sunday mornings. How many times have I said, Jesus went into the synagogue to preach? He went to the Jews. He went to the people that were dispersed, and he preached the gospel. Where did the Apostle Paul go? Whenever he went to any town, Paul was the evangelist to the Gentiles, but before he went to the Gentiles, he always went to the synagogue. He went there first in order to preach the gospel, to tell people about the Messiah who had in fact come. And so these synagogues proved to be integral, absolutely essential for the spread of the gospel throughout the Roman Empire. And so that really begs the question, what might God be doing now? We are in a kind of exile. God's people are the church. The building is not the church. There is no temple that we need to be in order to be truly worshiping. And so this building, as much of a gift as it is, this building is not the church. You are the church. But the church is the most fully the church when the church is gathered together. And this provides a place for us to be gathered for worship. So we're resuming public worship, but it's not going to be the same. We're not going to be singing. We're not going to be able to hug each other or touch each other. It's going to be hard. It will be bittersweet. It'll be different. It won't be like it was, at least not for now. And yet we need to ask, what might God be doing in this time? What might he be preparing the church, Grace Church, the church as a whole, to do? What new thing might God be doing in terms of advancing the gospel in the world as a result of what's happening now? And of course, we don't know, but it's exciting to think about, isn't it? And so I want to encourage you to be praying about that, to be seeking the Lord for the new thing that he may be seeking to do in order to advance the gospel through his people and through his church in this time of COVID that we are in. Lord willing, it will end and end soon. Lord willing, there'll be a vaccine or other ways in which we're able to step out of this dark season in which we've been in. But we can't miss an opportunity here to be asking, God, what do you have for your church in this time? How are you uniquely positioning things so that your people can continue on with your mission in the world? So I hope to see you Sunday. And if I don't see you Sunday, I will understand. I hope to talk to you soon. And may it be that very soon, all of us who call Grace Church home can be gathered together again in his presence.